Alright guys, here's another video reviewing some important topics that show up on standardized math tests. First up, we have some probability. It's asking us to analyze two data sets and compare their mean, median, and mode. The first thing that I like to do with data sets is organize them in numerical order if they aren't already. And I can see that both of these data sets are organized, so we're good there. Now, the mode of a data set is the number that shows up the most often. And when I look at these data sets, neither of them have a repeat. None of the numbers show up more than once, which means neither of them have a mode. So they can't be the same if they don't exist. Next up, it says they have the same median. Now, the median is going to be the middle value. So in set number 1, the middle value is 68. In set number 2, it's also 68. So that one's true so far. But I want to check the last statement, which says they have the same mean. Now, the mean is the average. To find the mean, I'm going to add up all the values and then divide by how many values there are. So in the first one, I'm going to add up all of those numbers and then divide by 5. So I'm going to take 49 plus 55 plus 68 plus 72 plus 98 and then divide by 5. From my calculator, I get a mean of 68.4. Now I'm going to do the same thing in the second set. I'm going to add all of those up and then divide by 7 since there are 7 numbers. I'm going to take 20 plus 36 plus 47 plus 68 plus 75 plus 82 plus 89 and then divide by 7. And I get a different mean, 59.6. So those are not the same. I'm going with option B. They have the same median. Number 26 says a table and chair set that normally sells for $450 is on sale this week for 30% off. How much money would Trina save if she bought the set this week? So she would save 30% of that price. 30% as a decimal is 0.30. So I'm going to take $450 and multiply it by 0.3 to figure out her savings. And I get $135, which is option C. Next up, we have a question about the intersection of the following linear equations. So I want to know where they cross paths. Okay, what is that point? Okay, and I can solve for this intersection by thinking of it as a system of linear equations. And I'm going to use the substitution method. Since y is equal to 3x minus 1, but it's also equal to 4x plus 2 in the second statement, I'm going to go ahead and set those equal to each other. And I'm going to solve for x. I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I get negative 3 is equal to x. So I'm going to eliminate options C and D since those do not have the correct x coordinate. To find the y coordinate, I'm going to plug negative 3 into either function and solve for y. I'm going to plug it into that first one. 3 times negative 3 minus 1. I get negative 9 minus 1, which is negative 10. That tells me that option B is the correct option. All right, on to the next one. It says a 25-foot ladder is leading up against a building. The base of the ladder is 7 feet from the base of the building. We want to know how high up the building does this ladder reach. And they gave us a nice drawing here to help us. Now, we're going to assume that the building is perpendicular to the ground. So that means we have a 90-degree angle, which means we can use some trigonometry here, specifically Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now we got to be careful. C needs to be the hypotenuse, which is that angled side, the ladder. So I have 7 squared plus B squared is equal to 25 squared. And I'm going to solve for B. I got to remember 7 squared is not 7 times 2. It's 7 times 7, which is 49. 25 squared similarly is 25 times 25, which is 625. I'm going to subtract 49 from both sides, which gives me 576. And then to solve for that side length, which I've called b, I'm going to take the square root of 576. I get that b is equal to 24, which is option D. In the next question, we have some data to analyze. It says that the Thompson family wants to make a graph to show the percent of money spent on their vacation in the following categories. What kind of graph would be best to use to display their results? So a bar graph would have each of those categories compared to each other in a vertical bar. A line graph would have an XY axis and a line that would go up and down. I think that would make it hard to compare those different categories. Okay. A circle graph is like a pie chart. That would make it easy to compare the different sizes. And then the multiple line graph. So that would be multiple different lines compared, but that's more useful for comparing things changing over time, so I don't like that one. So I'm in between the bar graph and the circle graph. Since we're adding up to 100%, I feel like the circle graph is the best choice. C. In the next question, it says, in Betty's class, there are 16 girls and 14 boys. Which of these is the correct ratio of girls to the total number of students? So I'm going to set up girls to total. Okay, it says that there are 16 girls and 14 boys. The total would be 16 plus 14, which is 30. So 16 to 30, option D. Another probability question. It says Brandy spins the spinner twice. What is the probability that the sum of the two spins is an even number? This one is tricky. I'm going to think about all the different possibilities and then also think about how many of those possibilities would add to an even number. There are definitely multiple ways that you could do this. You could organize it in a tree diagram or in a chart to help you. When I think about the total number of options, right, I'm going to think of the counting principle, okay, which says that I'm going to multiply the two different rounds of spinning to find the total number of outcomes. Okay, in the first spin, there are 6 different outcomes. In the second spin, there's also 6 different outcomes. So if I multiply 6 times 6, that gives me a total of 36. Okay, so then how many of those 36 options has an even sum? Well, I'm going to write out those options so I can make sure I calculate them all. I'm going to start with the first spin ending in 1. Okay, since 1 is odd, my second spin would also have to be odd for it to total to an even number. So that means 1 plus 3, 1 plus 5, or 1 plus 1 would end up being even. If the first spin ended with a 2, I would have to get another even number for the total to be even. So that means 2 plus 2, 2 plus 4, or 2 plus 6 would give me a total that's an even number. Okay, I'm going to continue to list out the possibilities for the other first spin. So if I start with a 3, 3 plus 3, 3 plus 5, and 3 plus 1 would give me a total that's even. For landing on a 4 the first spin, 4 plus 4, 4 plus 6, and 4 plus 2 would give me even numbers. Landing on a 5 first, I would either need to land on 1, 3, or 5 for my second spin for them all to add up to a even number. And then if I land on a 6 first, my second spin needs to be a 6, a 2, or a 4. So I'm getting a total of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 out of the 36, which simplifies to 1/2. Next one is about slope. It says, what's the slope of a line perpendicular to a line having a slope of 3/4? Now, I know perpendicular slopes are opposite reciprocals, meaning I need to flip that ratio upside down, 4/3, and I need it to be the opposite sign. Since the original slope is positive, my perpendicular slope is going to be negative. Option A, -4/3.